Good morning and welcome to Buzzlocal.tv. I'm your host, Eric Jingles. Thank you so much for watching, because today you are most lucky that we have Ginette Petitpas Taylor, the Member of Parliament for Moncton, Riverview and Dieppe. Welcome, Ginette.
Well, thanks for the invitation.
Very pleased to have you here. Now, it's been a big transition for you. I mean, it must have been a real whirlwind going from your previous life, as it were, to the life in politics. What's that been like?
Well, it's been fast, I'll be very honest. On October 19th, we were pleased with the results, and then from there on the 20th, my role as Member of Parliament for the area started right away. There's no manual that they give you at that time, so you really have to, you're kind of fending for yourself, but it's been great. Locally, we've been able to open our office on December the 1st. It seems like such a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Hired our staff and got everything settled, so that part of it is going well. And then from there, we had to venture off to Ottawa, and then from there again, got our office staff and our offices open down there, so things are going well. But overall, the transition has gone well. We've had a few mentors that have helped us along the way, but still a lot to learn through the process.
I mean, that's almost like opening up a brand new business, if you will, right? So you've got to get an office, you got to get staff, you got to get furniture, you got to get everything kind of, your living accommodations, everything, boom, has to go, and because the government doesn't stop, right? You got to get in the game like immediately.
It certainly doesn't, and I guess as a new Member of Parliament, sometimes you don't recognize what that process is all about.
Right.
So I thought that perhaps we were going to be getting some information, but basically what ends up happening the morning after the election, when you become the Member of Parliament, the former member closes up his office, and then from there you basically open your office. Little details that I didn't know was with respect to your furnishings. I had to wait for the previous MP to close his office, and then his furniture goes into storage, and I assume his furnishings to open my office. So sometimes people were wondering, why is the transition taking so long? Well, we had to give him time to move out of his facilities. We had to find a place to rent, and then from there we had to wait for all the furnishings, and we had to kind of pick and choose to make sure that it fit our space. So that process alone took a bit of time. Another part of the process, I thought that perhaps that I was going to be assuming some files from the previous MP. I just thought that's kind of how it worked. But basically, we just opened our own files, so we didn't get any paperwork or any open files that the other MP was working on. So that was a bit of a transition for me as well, just because I expected that I was going to be getting that. But it's like that for all MPs. It's not just this writing. That's pretty well what the process is.
Wow. So you don't just shake hands and say better luck next time and give the keys to the office and you get in and take down his pictures and put up your pictures. You just it's all new.
It's all new. And I guess in my case, I changed the locations as well. I didn't keep the same office space that he had. Therefore, he had to pack up, the furnishings had to go into storage, and then from there we opened our new facility, which is located on 272 St. George Street. I like to mention that to people. And I indicate it's not my office, it's really the community office, and we really want people to call upon us if they have any issues that we can help them with.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been, there's just the initial, here you go, let's get going, chop, 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 quick. Is there anything that you recall that stands out to you as that's one of the bigger things? I mean, I'd say a big thing, but something that surprised you a lot in the transition, or that you thought, oh my gosh, this is...
Well, yeah, I have to say that probably just during that transition period, you're really a bit left on your own as to how you have to kind of hire your staff, your budgets and the rest of it. The good part about the House of Commons, however, for the first week, we went to Ottawa, and then from there we had a 3 or 4 day orientation session, which was really helpful. It just answered some of the basic questions that we had with respect to managing budgets, hiring staff, and doing all that. But when you've just won an election, and we've had a long campaign, that information was very, very helpful. But probably 2 months after that we had been settled into Ottawa, that information would have really resonated even more, because there's some items that they spoke about, I really didn't understand what they were talking about at the time. Now it kind of makes a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
So when I look at my notes now, I'm thinking, that's what they meant, when we indicated that. But the orientation process was extremely helpful. I also have to add, at the orientation process, they invited our spouses to come down.
Oh, nice.
Which was really good, because it kind of gave them a snapshot of what the life of an MP can look like, and also to try to encourage them to take part in that process. And the other thing as well, when I was on information overload, it was always good to have my husband there, because then from there he could say, no, this is what they actually said, Ginette. So it was really helpful that way.
Well, no, that's very true, because it's like going to a doctor's office, right? I mean, if they you're getting some information or news, you quite often your brain is trying to keep up with what's going on, and you miss some things and stuff like that. So it's good to have a thing. So does your husband now have to like bow towards you? Or is that the process? Is that no? Because he told me that's what you said, so I was kind of confused though. I didn't know you had to do it. He don't have to do that. I said, well, I don't know. You better check. So you're now the deputy House Whip, deputy.
The deputy government whip.
The deputy government whip. Now that's sounds drastic, and that's a big title. And congratulations, by the way. I mean that's awesome. I mean, coming out of the gate to have a position like that. But what exactly does that do? I have an idea. I watch the House of Cards, so that's basically the only thing I know about politics is from watching the House of Cards. But what does the deputy government House Whip do?
Okay. Well, I've never watched the House of Cards, so I don't know how they.
Probably better you don't.
Yeah.
I think this. Yeah.
But deputy, when I was approached and appointed to that role, that was kind of my question as well. What does this mean? What does this look like? But basically, a big part of my responsibility, I work with the Chief Government Whip. So that's Mr. Andrew Leslie. He's a retired general with the Canadian military. Wow. So that's his background. And for my job, my role as Deputy Government Whip, a big part of my job is to make sure that when members have to speak in the House, every day during question period, the Liberal Party has 9 slots that we can speak and do statements in the House.
Okay.
So part of my responsibility is to make sure that we pick and choose who's going to be speaking those days in question. So we always have to look at language requirements, and we try to make sure that we've got male and females that are speaking, and to also make sure the appropriate topics are being hit on that day. So we go through that. So that's a big part of my responsibilities. Also, when it comes to issues of questions, when you're the governing party, for us, as an example, we have 3 questions a day that we can ask during question period.
Okay.
So we also have to make, choices as to who's going to be asking certain questions, and to make sure that they're prepared, that they know when they're going to speak. That's a big part of my responsibility. The other part of my job as well, however, is that if anyone has a complaint that they want to make with respect to harassment, oftentimes the Whip's office is the one that will investigate those complaints. And also if people are just having personal issues with respect to personal matters that they're dealing with, if they're having issues, family matters, perhaps it could be issues with addictions, or just having a difficulty coping, a part of my job is to really meet with them as well, and to make sure that the appropriate services are put in place to help them through that, whatever they're going through. So when I look at why I was asked to do that job, I guess looking at my background, it was a lot of the work that I did with the RCMP. And at first when they asked me to take on this role, I was a bit uncertain, but when they explained to me the role, I thought, okay, that makes sense. So Andrew Leslie's the Chief Whip. So he usually deals with a lot of the discipline type of situations, and I deal with mostly, what I just explained.
So it's good cop, bad cop.
That's pretty well what it is, yeah.
I don't want him to come in here, so you just talk to me. But that's very interesting, because I guess, I never would have thought of that. But I mean, if you're away from home and your life continues, and it's just like if you take any 300, 400 people that are coming in through the door at an airport or a mall, everybody has certain issues in their lives, like everybody does. So
absolutely,
in order to kind of help the government run efficiently, make sure all your players are, at their best, that makes sense.
And we almost want to have like one-stop shopping, that people can come to us, and if they need any help with a specific issue, we can certainly make sure that we do the research for them. They don't have to do 15 phone calls. We can take care of that, and then from there give them the information that they're looking for. We also receive a lot of questions with respect to human resources issues, about hiring staff, terminating staff. Many parliamentarians have never had to be bosses before, have never been supervisors, have had to be employers, and that's really what our role is when we've got our staff. We are the ones that are responsible at hiring our staff or letting go of our staff. So oftentimes you need a bit of support to help them throughout that process, so we'll provide them with that assistance as well.
Interesting. Yep. But your staff is excellent, though.
I have the best staff in Canada, because I represent the best riding in Canada.
There you
actually.
go. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
And I mean that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We do have one question from a viewer. Joe LeBlanc was wondering about the wastewater treatment facility and the getting some funding to help for the upgrade. Is there any news on that? Or?
That is certainly a priority. During the campaign, we spoke about that as well, and I've met with Transaqua, which is the group that's in charge of our wastewater treatment facility in Moncton, and I am hoping and confident that between now and our next mandate, or before the next mandate, that we will have the wastewater treatment facility funding in order. We also recognize that we also want to restore we want to have a full restoration of the river as well. And some people think that there are two issues. To me, they really go hand in hand. And we see the restoration of the river taking place, but we also need to have clean water to go in that river.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's truly a priority, and all levels of government are really working together to make sure that we can secure the appropriate funding for that project.
Nice. It's amazing. I talked about this with Mayor Arnold about the just the amount of activity that's happening down by the waterfront now. Because having grown up in Moncton, you forgot there was a river there. Like I went to school at UNB, and you think there's a river town, and you think, oh, there's a river in Moncton. You're like, is there? Like, oh yeah, I guess there is. But now, there's an actual, when it's full, there's a river there, and
and there's a buzz about it.
Yeah.
People are really, really excited about it.
Yeah. Well, we were talking to, or Melvin from the Chateau Moncton was surfing the Petitpas River last week, and so we streamed him surfing it, and it was really cool. It worked out great. Anyway, there happened to be a family from Washington State that were there. And so we interviewed them about what they thought, and they were so excited. They said, we had heard about this, we have high tides, this was amazing, and they were so chuffed, and so excited to be there and to talk about that, and that sort of word spreads, right? That kind of excitement, and that's a good thing.
And we've been talking about restoring the river for the past 20
Forever,
years,
yeah.
if not more.
Yeah.
So this is really a priority, and I'm really excited because I'm very, very confident that we are going to see both projects,
Right.
become reality, and hopefully very soon.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a real pleasure, and you'll be coming in more on a regular basis, hopefully.
I hope so.
we'll
I'm
be
hoping to
talking.
be invited again, so that would be great.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, if you have any questions you'd like to ask Her Highness, this is what your husband said you're supposed to do. I don't know if that's correct. Are you the right honorable now? Are you the righteous Ginette, or what are you?
I'm Ginette.
You're Ginette.
I'm Ginette.
We'll be very pleased to have Ginette back in a couple of weeks. If you have any questions you'd like to ask Ginette, you're a member of Parliament for the Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe, by all means, please send us a message at buzz@buzzlocal.tv. Ginette, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.